Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity and the highway to north, this is Safety Wars for Friday, November 29, 2024. How's everybody doing out there? If you're in the United States, and if you were everywhere, I hope you enjoyed your Thursday. We had our regular Thanksgiving here, right, in the United States. You could, if you're interested in the whole history, you could Google it. Yes, I do use that calendar. That's from my Uncle Dave from many years ago. He said, you know what? You may want to be on the internet. Some foresight, and I got you a calendar. I was like, wow. So whenever I shot videos, training videos, I was always in the back. So now we have it regularly. Anyway, no food poisoning as far as I know of. We were in a little bit of an L-tryptophan haze for a couple of while from the turkey, you know. And had some fun playing cards, that sort of thing. Good to see people we haven't seen in a long time. And a little bit of family reunion every year. There was a meme out there, and I think it's very relevant to holidays and family stuff and everything. Don't let your funeral director be the planner of your next family reunion. Very, a little pithy, a little bit wise guy, but no, that's truth. Often we see people all the time. Only time we see them is at funerals, weddings, and maybe baptisms, things of that nature. That's not really good. No, go out there, connect with each other. Well, I think we may have a story on that tonight about connecting with people. I want to do a huge shout out to the people in Finland. It seems like we're going to be looking over some of their emergency response resources for civilians. What I find interesting is this. And I don't know if it's an internet type of thing where you go onto their website and they know you're from the United States. They automatically assume you can't speak Finnish. And they would be right in my case. And because they put everything in English. We'll be going through that, see how the Finnish do it. And I want to thank everybody there. We're getting a lot of audience from Finland and from Northern Europe, Sweden, Germany. Germany, we always have people there, thanks probably to my distant cousin, Carl. Carl, if you're there, hello. And Poland. I know we have people in Poland coming through also regularly. Anyway, if you didn't have a chance yesterday, then a lot of families today or tomorrow over the weekend they see each other for holidays, things of that nature. No, just have fun, reconnect with people. Leave the politics alone if you can't deal with it. We really didn't talk about politics yesterday, a little bit of politics, that was it. Only because it's me, you're going to hear about a political discussion no matter what. But that's the way it is. And we had some people who couldn't make it yesterday. They were sick, legitimately. So, and hope they're feeling better and on the mend. All right, let's go into the news right off the bat. China warns a nuclear war risk in Ukraine. Story by Micah McCartney. This was from Newsweek. China has renewed that right-wing rag Newsweek, right? China has renewed its warnings over the potential use of nuclear weapons. By the way, that's tongue-in-cheek. Nuclear weapons in the Russia-Ukraine war. In response to recent speculation about the possibility of the U.S. stationing them in the embattled country to deter future Russian aggression. China is paying close attention to the nuclear risks triggered by the Ukraine crisis and has reiterated time and time again that nuclear weapons should not be used, a nuclear war must not be fought, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Mao Ning said during Thursday's regular press conference. She had been asked to respond to last week's New York Times report citing anonymous U.S. officials who floated returning nuclear weapons to Ukraine as part of discussions on deterring a third Russian invasion. This is madness. I'll say that much. This whole thing. And here we have from the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, a growing nuclear debate. This is from Klaus Schrager from yesterday. The rise of calling everything a nuclear threat. This is sort of like, calling everything climate change, and getting involved with climate change policy. Everything's climate change, right? Nuclear noise coming from the Kremlin is nothing new in the scope of Russia's war in Ukraine, but Russian President Vladimir Putin's most recent saber-rattling has reinvigorated global fears of nuclear escalation in the conflict. On November 19th, Putin signed a decree that added that, and we covered it on this program, to Russia's nuclear doctrine, the right to use nuclear weapons against any non-nuclear state attacking Russia or its allies that is backed by a nuclear power and in response to any conventional attack that poses a critical threat to Russia's sovereignty or territory. To many, this is equal to lowering the threshold from the previous doctrine's language by expanding the conditions on which Russia might use nuclear weapons. The article goes on to say, this is from the bulletin.org, the Bulletin of the American Scientists, is that, over-crediting gestures, while they don't constitute a threat, both nuclear noise and more often nuclear gestures can inadvertently escalate risk when they are misconstrued as nuclear threats. Threats must be taken seriously, whereas noise and gesture should be discouraged by not being rewarded with deference. The Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, is commonly considered the highest historic moment of nuclear risk. It was really dangerous, and things happened that could have led to nuclear war, but it wasn't because they were making nuclear threats. I think this whole thing, Jimmy's commentary, is all rhetoric at this point. Where I don't want to say rhetoric, it's semantics. That would be a better way of saying this. With that, so the equivalent of someone threatening, hey, I'm going to kick his ass or something. And then, well, you're not going to kick his ass. Oh, I'm going to kick his ass. Well, guess what? Some people take that very seriously. Now, the doomsday clock here with us it's 90 seconds to midnight as of January 23rd, 2024. I wonder what it is now. I don't know. With that, they put out this nuclear clock. In related news, this is from Al Jazeera. That's right. That is the a news outlet in the Arab world in the Middle East. Not your guy down the street, your neighbor, Al Jazeera. Iran plans to install 6,000 centrifuges to enrich uranium. Well, you think I'm joking on that one? I got a comment here from the Peanut Gallery. After 9/11, there was a guy I saw in BJ's screaming and yelling about Al-Qaeda. He knew he couldn't trust that SOB. And he was dead serious. It was just, didn't know, I'm not making a joke on 9/11. Believe me. There's just people, that don't know. Incredible. Al Jazeera. Iran plans to install 6,000 centrifuges to enrich uranium. So to get high-end uranium to make nuclear weapons, it gets put through a refining process and it's centrifuges here. So that's basically what it comes down to enrich uranium. Iran has formed the International Atomic Energy Agency that it plans to install more than 6,000 new centrifuges, going on and on and on. So to get that high-end, high-grade uranium. This is from VOA News. The United States is deeply concerned about the announcement by the Iranian government indicating its choice to escalate tensions rather than cooperate with the International Atomic Energy Agency. A spokesman for the U.S. State Department told VOA Persian, Iran's continued production of accumulation of 60% enriched uranium has no credible civilian justification. The spokesperson added, the IAEA Board of Governors has made it clear that Iran must immediately provide full cooperation to the IAEA to resolve issues related to its legal obligations that have remained unresolved for more than 5 years. These remarks from the U.S. State Department come as the UK and France also expressed concerns on Friday regarding Iran's nuclear ambitions. Nicholas Lerner, head of France's Foreign Intelligence Service, said on Friday that Iran's intensified nuclear activities will be the most significant threat in the coming months. Speaking alongside his British counterpart, he emphasized our agencies are working together to address what is undoubtedly one of the most significant threats in the coming months. Richard Moore, head of UK's Secret Intelligence Service, MI6, also described Iran's nuclear ambitions as a major global security threat. Speaking in Paris on Friday, December 9, Moore said, militias allied with the Iranian government across the Middle East have suffered significant setbacks. However, the regime's nuclear ambitions remain a threat to all of us. The MI6 chief's comments come as senior diplomats from the UK, Germany, and France, along with the EU's senior coordinator, held a meeting on the same day in Geneva, Switzerland, with Iranian officials to explore the possibility of serious negotiations aimed at reducing regional tensions. The goal of this meeting was to explore ways to de-escalate tensions ahead of Donald Trump's presidency. Well, I have to break here from this. Things are being de-escalated right now, it appears. There's unconfirmed reports that there are peace talks, serious peace talks, because I tell you what, this money may be drying up for the Ukraine war at this point. And I think they want to resolve things here. Resolve things ahead of the inauguration with this, because there's some uncertainty with this. So let's go on with this. Let's see what else we got here. Ukraine asks NATO for membership invite next week, letter shows. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrius, this is from VOA News, Voice of America. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha has urged his NATO counterparts to issue an invitation to a meeting in Brussels next week to Kiev to join the Western Military Alliance. The letter reflects Ukraine's renewed push to secure an invitation to join NATO, which is part of a victory plan outlined last month by President Volodymyr Zelensky to end the war triggered by Russia's 2022 invasion. Ukraine says it accepts that it cannot join the alliance until the war is over, but extending an invitation now would show President Putin that he could not achieve one of his main goals, preventing Kiev from becoming a NATO member. The invitation should not be seen as an escalation. On the contrary, with a clear understanding that Ukraine's membership in NATO is inevitable, Russia will lose one of its main arguments for continuing this unjustified war. I urge you to endorse a decision to invite Ukraine to join the alliance. Now, Zelensky has been quoted today as saying he would, let's give them the land that they took and leave it at that and end the war with this. So we'll see what happens here with this. The whole thing was in the early 1991, in 1991, I forget what time of year it was. I think it was February. Ukraine was allowed to break away as long as it didn't become part of NATO. And that is a change of things. That's my understanding and recollection of the issue here. So We'll see what happens. This is from BBC. This just came out 51 minutes ago. So this is an update from the BBC on this situation. Zelensky suggests hot phase of war could end if unoccupied Ukraine comes under NATO. Right? Zelensky has suggested that parts of Ukraine under his control should be taken under NATO umbrella and try to stop the hot phase of the war. In a long, wide-ranging interview on Sky News, the Ukrainian president was asked whether he would accept NATO membership, but only on the territory which Kiev currently holds. Zelensky said he would, but only if NATO membership was offered to the whole of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders first. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Okay. And in a single post, and other news on this, we're doing a deep dive here tonight. In a single post, the president-elect told the world that the end of the Ukraine war, what the end of the Ukraine war might look like. President-elect Trump, or I don't know, this seems weird. Do we call him President Trump or President-elect Trump? It could go either way. I mean, if you're president for life, right? I am very pleased to nominate General Keith Kellogg to serve as assistant to the president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Trump wrote on his Truth Social channel. Together, we will secure peace through strength and make America and the world safe again. Really? There's something I can't share. I wonder where he got that slogan from. Make America safe again. Wonder where he got that. I don't know. That was one of my slogans here. I said jokingly to someone. So, but apparently it came through. Did he get that from us or not? I don't know. By appointing Keith Kellogg as the special envoy to Ukraine, Donald Trump has also chosen a very specific pre-announced plan for the thorniest foreign policy issue on his plate. I got to say, I'm sorry. I had to save this. I'm going to print this out. I'm going to send this to people. They're going to get a kick out of it. All right. That I was telling this to. Right. Finland's freezing winds exercise demonstrates NATO's approach to deterring Baltic seabed threats. 2 NATO task groups and 15 NATO navies are currently working together in the Baltic Sea on a Finnish Navy-led exercise designed to integrate high-level naval capabilities to build deterrence against enduring and emerging threats in the region. An emerging threat is now enduring is the risk to critical underwater infrastructure on the Baltic seabed. Exercise Freezing Winds 2024, Finland's largest naval exercise, is taking place now, right, and ended today. Around 30 naval vessels, several maritime patrol craft, and 4,000 personnel are involved. For the second consecutive year, NATO's Allied Maritime Command, MARCOM, is participating with the presence of Standing NATO Maritime Group 1 and Standing NATO Mine Countermeasures Group 1. First time that both NATO's North Atlantic-focused standing navals have taken part. Freezing Winds provides combined training, and that enhances our interoperability in a region of strategic importance to the alliance. And going on with that. So, I mean, a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I looked on that thing yesterday. Someone asked me about the thing, about the podcast. How's it doing? I looked up the viewership, and I was like, wow. Wow. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to talk about disaster preparation in Finland and in Germany, I believe, or Sweden, I should say. And with that, we'll do a little bit of a deep dive here. So we'll be right back with this, and I assure you, now that things are calming down a little bit, we're going to get things a little bit better organized here.
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
This is gonna blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of Safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now, and stay safe, folks.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father. That promo with my daughter on it, that's like, everybody gets a laugh at it when I see them. Hey, how's your daughter doing? We love her on the promo. So, trying to get her to do that, no, I think that thing is like 2 years old now, right? She'll probably be in her 30s. I'll still be using that if we're doing this. Preparing for, this is from Finland. Here, preparing for incidents and crisis. What does preparedness mean? Good preparedness is, I like this because it fits in to what is safety. Safety is controls and resilience and capacity and everything built into that. And you add more, right? So this is actually pretty good. Good preparedness is a complex whole. I got to grab this. I tell you what, I'm going to do a screenshot of this because I think this is actually really good what Finland has done here. What does preparedness mean? Emergency supplies, right? Information, skills, functional capability, and communality, right? In the United States, we've gotten away from this whole thing of communality, except when the disaster hits. When the disaster hits, everybody comes together, everybody wants to work, and we got donations, and we got that. But the thing is to be organized ahead of time. So, for example, on our street, we have people we basically know what everybody does. I live on a dead-end street by design on that. I do not like to live on anything other than a dead-end street. That's one of the reasons why we bought the house. There's only about 20 cars a day that pass our house. That includes the people going to work and like post office, right, mail person, delivery trucks, maybe a couple of workers, and maybe some landscapers, things of that nature. So we know everybody here. We know what the capabilities are. Half of the people have kids going to school, so we know. No, we're family, and to build community. The other thing is that I always encourage, and recently I saw other people encouraging the same thing. Get to know your local farmers if you can, if you have local farmers, local food suppliers. Because if there's a supply chain disruption, maybe you can get food directly from the farm. with that. Maybe you could trade services, whatever, trade, and things of that nature. So it's resilience, building things up with that. When something extraordinary happens, it may transform your everyday life. When you prepare in advance, you will know how to act in different situations. Your everyday life, this is phenomenal here, what they put out. Your everyday life will change as little as possible when something extraordinary happens. Your ability to cope in a crisis situation will improve. Your sense of security will be stronger, right? Your recovery from extraordinary events will be faster. Everyone's preparedness and actions affect how well we manage in different situations. The authorities in society manage the situation, help those most in need, and make sure everyday life is as normal as possible. However, the authorities cannot do everything alone. This makes it important that everyone contributes to preparedness. This is phenomenal. I agree with this so far, right? There are many ways to prepare. Preparedness includes home emergency supplies, which means water, food, and necessary supplies, information about risks and threats, how to prevent them and how to prepare for them, an ability to act when faced with an abnormal situation, functional capacity, including physical and mental capacity. My father was a big believer in functional capacity. He didn't call it that, right? But he was a big believer on that, keeping yourself mentally alert, morally straight, keeping yourself physically able as you're able to. Father, big thing he preached there. A sense of community, which means trust and connection with other people and helping others. I always encourage, and now this is becoming, unfortunately, harder for a lot of communities, the church, synagogues, whatever your religious faith tradition is, don't discount that. And if you don't have that, other groups here. We all have different starting points for preparedness. Consider how you can best increase your ability. Take precautions does not make the threat more likely to occur. What a novel concept here. And from Finland. Preparing for various unlikely and serious threats may seem far off. However, the most tricky situations are the ones that require you to cope and act to the best of your ability for some time without outside help. It is important that you are mentally prepared for extraordinary situations. Preparedness may evoke difficult feelings such as anxiety and fear. However, preparing for threats, including serious ones, does not make the threat more likely to occur. Believe me, I worked with a dude. His name was Al. I'm not going to mention his last name, and he was an interesting guy there. He lived in a trailer camp. And this was in Kentucky, and some of our listeners here will remember him because I know we have people that I used to work with that know this, right? So there was a fire in the trailer. The trailer was very old. Obviously, there was something wrong, not hooked up right with the propane tank. Something went wrong with it. He was never able to determine why because the place blew up, basically. And I don't know if his wife or his girlfriend was in there with the grandchildren, and she managed to cover the grandchildren and took third-degree burns to her body. The grandchildren were a little bit shaken up, probably shaken up over this, but nobody was hurt with that other than his wife or girlfriend. I don't know what it was. And she spent some time in the hospital, made a complete recovery. Eventually, as much as you could recover from something like that, third-degree burns. And there was a collection being taken around the facility. And for it, no problem, everybody threw in a couple of bucks because he basically lost everything at home. And someone had mentioned to him, hey, good thing you had homeowners insurance or renter's insurance, depending on what it was. Said, oh, no, we don't have insurance because we have insurance. That means we're more likely to have a problem. I was like, whoa. Thank God they're not a safety person, right? But, with that thinking. But that happens often where people say, well, I don't have health insurance because if I have health insurance, I'll be more likely to get sick. Really? I don't have homeowners insurance because I'm more likely to have a fire. People up here in the north in New Jersey, and I know it's elsewhere in the country, we don't need auto insurance because we're going to get into a car accident. That means ridiculous. We don't need that equipment. We don't. I recently hung a fire blanket. So in my house, I have a fire extinguisher, easily accessible, and now I have a fire blanket. And I showed my kids and my wife how to use the thing and showed a little YouTube video on it in case they're thinking, right. And no, it would be like, well, we can't have that because we're going to have more likely to have a fire if we have a fire extinguisher. It doesn't make sense. Preparing for various unlikely and serious threats may seem far off. However, the most tricky situations are the ones that require you to cope and act to the best of your ability for some time without outside help. It is important that you are mentally prepared for extraordinary situations. Preparedness may evoke difficult feelings such as anxiety and fear. However, preparing for threats, including serious ones, does not make the threat more likely to occur. It is important to acknowledge that unlikely things can also happen. Acknowledging the risk does not mean that you are getting ahead of yourself, but can also alleviate concerns. Preparedness does not mean that you believe something bad will happen. Basic knowledge and skills help you cope with many situations. There are separate instructions on how to prepare for and act for different situations, but I'm skipping ahead. You will cope with many situations when you, 1, stay calm, 2, think about what the situation involves and which instructions you know are related to it. How does the situation affect you, your loved ones? Follow official communications and emergency warnings. Follow the instructions. List the most important things to do in the instruction and take action. Help others to the best of your ability. Home emergency supplies. So I'm going to skip to the chase here and we'll say Finland recommends 3 days. United States recommends 3 to 4 days. And if we recall, during our disaster preparedness month, there were a couple of different scenarios. Scenario 1 is what we all will deal with at one point in our life, which is along the lines of 0 to 24 hours. 0 to 24 hours, this could be a fire drill, first aid thing, medical emergency. That's what most people are prepared for. Scenario number 2 would be from like 24 hours to 72 or 96 hours, depending on who you talk to. And that's what they're saying you should be prepared for is scenario number 2. If you're in the prepper community, usually the prepper community is ready for up to 30 days in my experience. By the way, the 5% of the people in the U.S. are preppers. So they're up to 30 days of emergencies. So about 5% roughly. And then after that, 30 days plus, that's a whole different life thing. That's off-the-grid living, something along those lines. Off-the-grid living here. I was actually talking to one of those people today that did off-the-grid type stuff many years ago, and he still does off-the-grid type stuff here. And he was able to set up a commune. I spoke to him before. I want to call it a commune, but it really wasn't a commune. Sort of, it was just a group of people living together. There was not a commune means that, you're like a religious commune, but this wasn't that. Bunch of folks living together that agreed to help each other with that. But no, that's like 30 days or more. You're not going to be able to prepare for that. 3 days, 4 days, most people can handle that, especially if they're in high-density housing like apartments or townhouses. So what do you need? Home emergency supplies, including water, food, medicines, and other essential supplies. And it's not a separate storage, but should instead contain products you normally use. Wow, I could have written this, right? Normally use. So, for example, you don't want to find out that nobody likes the food that you bought. You went out and you bought, and I know my shirt is buttoned wrong here. Well, you don't want to go and have food that nobody likes, right? With that. So, for example, you go out and you buy legumes or pulses, and then you find out that nobody likes lentils, right? Or you have a peanut allergy, or someone develops a peanut allergy, that sort of thing. Yeah, what you normally eat. This way you're not dealing with, picky eaters, especially with that for 3 to 4 days. The recommendation is reserve enough supplies to last you and other members of your household for at least 3 days. However, even a small set of home emergency supplies will help you if you cannot get anything at once. How long does it take to prepare? 3 to 4 days? 2 weeks. Allow yourself 2 weeks for planning and obtaining. It is important to get the supplies when daily life is going on as usual. Man, wow, you Finns have your groove note together here. This will reduce the need to get the supplies when there is an incident at the demand for the supplies may strike. And the demand for the right home emergency supplies will help you if you are unable to get to shops for some ordinary reason, such as falling ill. Were they listening to us during disaster preparation month? The Finns? This is like all the stuff that was on Safety Wars. I just found this last night and today. Home emergency supply checklist, right? Bottled water, ready to eat and easy to cook meals that you use in your regular everyday life, radio operating on batteries or otherwise without mains, electricity. My wife, that's over there. My wife we're cleaning up for Christmas, and she took my radio out of the living room and she put it on my desk. Radio operating on batteries, otherwise without mains, electricity. A flashlight or some other light. They say lamp operating on light something. That's their acronym. Operating on batteries or otherwise without mains power. A charged backup power supply. Essential medicines that last you a little longer. Iodine tablets. If there's someone in your household in the target group for the iodine recommendation. With that, I guess they have that in Finland, some type of iodine recommendation. Hygiene supplies allow you to stay clean without water. A small amount of cash. But, cash is important. Duct tape for sealing windows and vents. Also enough food and water for your pets. And during incidents, the feelings of distress and fear may experience may lead to some excesses. So, for example, I'm going to give you, for example, we had the wildfires last year. I'm thinking, it was last year from Canada coming down. No, people, especially older folks that are immobile, not able to, they're watching TV all day long. Oh, the wildfires are out there. Oh, there's smoke in the air. There's this. Don't go outside. Blah, blah, blah. Air quality bad. Everybody's freaking out. Okay, well, you know what? You're not going to leave the inside of your house because there might be smoke outside or there is smoke outside. I mean, that was like a freaky feeling. It reminded me of the movie Blob, The Blob. I live on side of a mountain here in, we call it a mountain. Everywhere else it's a hill. South Mountain up here in Clarkstown, New York. And I saw the smoke come down the side of the mountain and up the street. It was like the Blob. I wish I had it on video. It was like the Blob coming all the way from Canada. It was like, wow. With that. So don't lose your... People can freak out. I mean, no, some people may want to get excessive quantities of canned food, toilet paper, or other supplies and start hoarding. You don't need to do that necessarily. And no, they're worried about supply chain issues up there in Finland. I'm going to say this much. In the United States, it's the official policy that if you have you set up your own private disaster response thing, the government could come in through eminent domain and take everything. That's the policy in the United States. Not too many people know that. I don't know how it is in other countries, but that's what it is here. Right? And 72, they have things and ask for advice and pay attention to various limitations of an individual functional capacity and preparedness. Functional capacity refers to a person's physical, psychological, cognitive, and social abilities for coping with everyday activities. Functional capacity may decrease due to aspects such as aging, injury, or illness. For everyone, preparedness includes consideration of your own and your loved one's situations and possibilities, even though the instructions for home emergency supplies and operating instructions for different situations apply to all. Use the following questions to think about which arrangements you need for preparedness. How will the incident specifically, how will they impact your everyday life? What restrictions should be taken into account? What can you do yourself, and where do you need help from others in various situations? Who can help you the quickest if something happened, and should you improve your safety net. And they have all different things here with this. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to highly recommend this website here. I tell you what, they did a phenomenal job with that. Finland. And it's nice to see something nice and simple, right? I went through some of our stuff, and in our country earlier this week, and I also went with my book. Hold on. All right, this one used to be available. Someone badgered me yesterday. This should be republished, right? And everything because of this stuff. But again, the atomic scientists here say, well, you shouldn't freak out. You shouldn't do this. Well, okay, great. That's wonderful. And but I say, be prepared for this stuff. Doesn't take a lot to be prepared. And we're going to go to another commercial break here while I set up the next series of discussions here. And if we run overtime, which we might on right over an hour, you could pick us up if you're listening to us on the Safety FM network on any one of our podcasts, which will be uploaded most likely tomorrow morning, or most likely tomorrow morning, or we're on Rumble, we're on X, former Twitter, Facebook stuff. YouTube and everything else. I'm going to put out a whole bunch of links to this stuff here, so make it easy on everybody. So let's just go to commercial break.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Want to avoid hefty OSHA fines and keep your team safe? Let's dive into the General Duty Clause. The General Duty Clause, Section 5, A1 of the OSHA Act of 1970, is a catch-all rule to cover unregulated hazards. Employers must keep workplaces free from recognized dangers that could cause death or serious harm. For OSHA to cite you under the General Duty Clause, they must prove the following 4 things. 1. The employer failed to render its workplace free of a hazard. 2. An employee was exposed to that hazard. 3. That hazard was causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. And 4. Feasible means exist to free the workplace of the hazard. Employees aren't off the hook either. Section 5B mandates they follow all safety standards. Both employers and employees must work together to maintain a safe work environment. Examples: think lifting above shoulder height repeatedly, or working without proper support. Stay proactive. Monitor work areas, apply the 4-part test, and you'll prevent those nasty citations and keep everyone safe. Need help? And more information? Contact Jim Posel and the Safety Wars team to help you prevent workplace incidents, conduct safety audits and training. Contact the Safety Wars team at jim@safetywars.com or 8452-695772. Visit us on the web at www.safetywars.com. Let's build a safer workplace together.
All right, so we're going to head on over to the OSHA website. We haven't been there in a couple of days on this. So, and
from the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Here we have right off the DOL website. So if you see a government website, I don't know if we were allowed to share the Finland one, but we did anyway on that, and we commented this is under fair use with this. The government websites, meaning VOA, Voice of America, US EPA, DOL, OSHA, EPA, any of those are all okay for us to share. There's no copyright on that. Those are public source. Here we have from today, November 29th. A company must pay $171 after federal investigators find sanitation contractor employed 11 children at a Sioux City processing plant. Now, here's my question for you with this, and it's going to continue to be a question until this is resolved. Are these children members of the 320,000 roughly children that were unprocessed that were coming over the border. There were heartbreaking stories here. And with this, let me pause for a second here from this. All right. Now that it comes to think of it, I heard a commentator today, right, on a certain news network that he says, I don't understand how a parent could put a 2-year-old toddler, give them this, bring it up to the United States, and then you don't know where that toddler is going, blah, 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 blah. I don't get it. No, I'm here. I'm yelling at the radio. No, I had satellite radio on in my truck, and I said, you don't know what context people are in. You don't know what level of desperation people are in. Right? You don't know. In the United States, they have this 2-year-old toddler. Oh, how horrible a left go. Yeah, horrible. Probably destined for the sex trade or worse in the United States. Slavery, sex trade, whatever. Okay. I don't know what the context is, why that child is here. I don't know what the parent's situation is. I don't know if the parents are alive or dead at this point. None of that information is available. Now, you talk to anybody who's in a war-torn country, in a situation, we talked about it here. We did back in 2022. 2022? Yeah, 2022. We did a whole program here in February. We had Imogene Salva, which I got to have back on the program. Her grandmother was the same situation as my grandmother in the former Soviet Union in the concentration camps. And I was told this week I shouldn't use that word. Okay, concentration camps. All right? Break out the Oxford Dictionary. That's the appropriate word. Right? And what happened was when they were being moved around and this and that towards the middle of the World War II, then they were allowed to leave, and because Russia was in crisis, Stalin wanted all of the men to create an army of Poles, which was eventually the Polish Second Corps under General Anders through World War II, and he let all the all of these Polish refugees in concentration camps, whoever survived them, out to go to Persia and Iran, right? Well, Persia at that time, now Iran today, and when eventually they made it to the United States. Long story short, you can look up the program. A lot of those people were giving up their children to orphanages and other places, not knowing whether they would ever see them ever again because they were starving to death. How dare these commentators who don't know what the bleep is going on, what people's situations are, commenting on this stuff. It's ridiculous. My rant is over. So are these children that they're finding here, where the hell are they coming from? Are these like the refugee children? Are these children that they're having all different situations? I don't know where they're coming from. Hopefully with the new administration coming in, hopefully they'll get to the bottom of this because it keeps on coming up. My question is always here, who are these children? What are they doing? Under a consent order and judgment approved by the U.S. District Court of Northern District of Iowa, the company must pay $171,000 plus in child labor, civil, monetary penalties, hire a third party to review and implement company policies to prevent the employment of children in violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act, and establish a process for reporting concerns about the illegal employment of children. It's happening all the time here. So what were they exposed to? Corrosive cleaners, to clean head splitters, and this is a slaughterhouse, jaw pullers, bandsaws, and neck clippers and other equipment at the food facility from September 2019 through September 2023. They contacted a janitorial service for sanitation work at its facility, and with that, and Blah, blah, blah. The division investigators found that Somerville, Tennessee contractor employed 9 children illegally at the Sioux City pork processing facility. Again, this is a problem. Contractors, right? Federal law forbids children under the age of 18 with it. They have a whole bunch of stuff. My question here is this. This is great. This is great. We stumbled across this. A little factoid here. In fiscal year 2024, the division concluded 736 investigations uncovering child labor violations that affected 4,030 children. I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more children doing this stuff. And assessed employers more than $15.1 million in penalties for violating federal child labor laws. This is right. We got to print this one out too. Here, we're going to save the PDF. Here. Right. Okay. Very, very frustrating here with this. We're gonna do a separate video. And then we had U.S. Department of Labor recovers $184,000 in back wages, damages, and penalties after wage investigation finds Pittsburgh restaurant unlawfully withheld tips. Really? So maybe when you go to a restaurant, rather than paying on a credit card, maybe you should hand the person cash, like I try to do. Because a lot of I tell you what, it's a hell of a thing where these employers are keeping tips. I know that's a weird concept if you're outside the United States, but this went back. I'm told how tipping came about was that after the Civil War, where certain low-end people, former slaves and everything, weren't getting the pay that they needed, so people started tipping them, and other poor people do menial work, like restaurant work is what at the time was considered menial, right? The U.S. Department of Labor today announced the signing of new framework of action alongside the governments of Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana and the World Cocoa Foundation to address child labor in West African cocoa sector. Together, I can't pronounce it, and Ghana produces 60% of the world's cocoa each year. Despite progress, children are still engaged in child labor on cocoa farms in these two countries. Okay, my question is this. The framework places, here, I'm going to finish this. All right. This framework places the relevant, right, national plans of action at the center of our work, while underscoring the critical role that companies play in promoting due diligence and transparency in supply chains. We are working together because we share a goal to end child labor, as well as a common responsibility to improve the lives of vulnerable children, families, and workers. One of the framework's key focuses is on addressing the root causes of child labor, including poverty, lack of access to decent work and social protection, inadequate coverage of child labor monitoring systems, and insufficient corporate accountability. The framework defines roles and responsibilities, going on and on and on. Okay, great. We want to end child labor. We got it. I understand. Okay, here's my question for you. Here. This past week, John Kerry, our current climate czar under Joe Biden, was talking about African countries out there having access to good electricity. Let's see if I can find the story here. Hold on. Bear with me. All right. So here we go. Now. All right. Here we go. Kerry, and this is from Fox News. Okay. Kerry suggests Africans without electricity must pick the right kinds of electricity. Kerry also suggested the U.S. can help Africans afford it. Let's see if there's a different source to this. Hold on. All right. Okay, this is from, I don't know. This is from The Whistler. With this, let me look at this real quick. Okay, this is, I'm not sure what, I've never heard of this here. But apparently this is basically the same story in the Whistler.org, so I'm going to go with it. Again, I wasn't there and I don't know what he said, so I don't know what his context is. Former Secretary of State John Kerry claimed that there is a climate emergency. We all know what the story is behind that if you listen to this show. And suggested that Africans without electricity must select the right kinds of electricity, likely referring to green energy production, and that the U.S. must help them to afford it. Kerry made the comments in a speaking event at the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics on Thursday. Right? And this was published on the 27th. So that was last Thursday, not yesterday, but the Thursday before. The Democrats suggest there will be a need to declare a climate emergency, which is what we really have. And we need to get people to behave as if this really is a major transitional challenge to the planet. You know that the U.S. is the biggest economy on Earth, with China in the second place. Depends on who you ask there, buddy. Dios Comunista. Chip Roy, Republican in Texas, wrote on X when replying to a post with this. All right. So, okay. So, here's the question for you. It's really nice when you're sitting up there. I think he still lives in Massachusetts here. All right. With this. And this is right. To go and talk about that. Okay, now, how does this relate to this? The people, and we got it really good in this country and in the Western world in general. Here we have people starving to death. Here we have people, all different kinds of problems in Ghana, all different kinds of problems in West Africa, all different kinds of problems in Africa in general, and everything else. Who the hell are you to go over there and start badgering people trying to improve themselves? Without good electricity, bad electricity. Are you, okay, well, yeah, we want a greener form of electricity, but it seems like the UN, and this has been going on for 30 years now, 40 years with this stuff, where they're preventing development in Africa. Many different policies of the UN to prevent development in Africa that would benefit the people. Maybe that's one of the things we that are the problem here. Maybe you should be for the people, not for, oh, well, we have to virtue signal and we gotta, oh, well, we feel good. We're encouraging good energy with this, right? Maybe that has a reason why we have children working there, child labor. Do you ever think that? These areas were suffering from a demographic bomb that was set up for slavery when they were the slave trade, right? And everything from over 150 years ago in colonialism. Maybe that was the cause here of this problem. You know, learn more about the department's international work. All right, so we have all this stuff here, international work. I'm going to encourage the incoming administration to review this stuff and see whether it's appropriate or not here that we're involved with this stuff. That's my question. All right, and Safety FM is going to be off the air with this program in about a minute or two. Federal court orders Detroit Security Company and the HR director pay $68K in back wages, damages, and penalties for shortchanging guards overtime. So, again, if you think this is anything new with security guards, every security guard, that company that I've worked with, I don't pay them, by the way. I don't approve payment or anything, but I've worked with them on the projects I've been on. Every one of them complains about people being shortchanged here for this stuff. Believe me, it's, with that. Unemployment, we're not going to read that. Department of Labor obtained judgment against a Arizona contractor must pay $1.7 million after denying drywall workers their owed wages. Now, I'm going to tell you how I document this, because this has happened to me before. Jim, how many hours are you on site? I'm just picking a number, 10 hours. Oh, well, they said you got in late. Oh, really? If I know I'm dealing with a company that's going to bleep around with hours, I go out and I use something called a smartphone. All right? I pull up to the front of the job site. I snap a photo of me going into the job site. Actual time. I'm leaving the job site. I snap another picture of me leaving the job site. Why do I do this? Because now it's time and date stamped with this. And in the construction industry, with this, you don't have normally a access control or a time clock or something like that. So yeah, I can see this really happening, especially on the lower end of the pay scale here, which a lot of these non-union, and even in some cases union, but primarily non-union companies do, is messing with this. And it adds up, man. And remember, what else are there? Now, this only tells half of the story here. If you're not paying your employees, who else are you not employing? Are you not paying? Mm-hmm. I'll give you 10 seconds here. Who else are you not paying if you are not paying your let's see. Who else are you not paying? You're not paying the IRS or the State Division of Taxation their due either. So my question is this: do they tag team? Do they tag team these companies, or you're not paying the employee what you're supposed to be paying there, but on top of it, you're not paying the IRS either. And again, I'm not going to say anything against the IRS. They have their role. They got a job to do. But generally speaking, if you're going to be screwing over the IRS and you're evading taxes, we're not talking about a simple tax mistake, but you're evading taxes and playing games with them and doing crap like this, they're not going to be so nice to you, with this. So here is an actual safety thing, right? Once again, the U.S. Department of Labor has cited a Portsmouth hardwood floor manufacturer with a long history of federal safety violations. This is Portsmouth, Ohio, after the company reported a 23-year-old worker suffered a partial arm amputation while troubleshooting a ripsaw machine. Responding to a May 2024 report of a worker's injury, inspectors with OSHA determined the saw safety device was bypassed. This failure allowed the worker to become entangled in the machine's rotating blades at the facility where raw wood is processed into finished floor. After the incident, OSHA opened a concurrent inspection at another company facility. Since 2022, 5 inspections at this location have identified recurring safety violations. Severe Violator, now they're a member of the Severe Violator Enforcement Program. The company received citations for 8 repeat, 2 serious, and 4 other non-serious violations, for which OSHA assessed $255,000 plus in penalties. Agency inspectors found the company failed to adequately train employees at both locations in lockout, tagout procedures, and did not mandate the use of lockout tagout when troubleshooting machines, changing blades, cleaning rollers, and changing colors. I don't know what that means. All right. Inspectors noted unguarded going nip points on chains and sprockets on a tilt hoist, the chop saw, and found multiple electrical safety violations as well as a lack of forklift training. Really, a preventable tragedy left a man with a permanent life-altering injury. Let's go and see. Do they actually tell us today? Because they haven't been telling us all the time with this. What's going on? Let's zoom in here. Little all right, let me make sure we got this here. Yeah, we got it on there. Good. All right, let's scroll on down. Again, this is all open sources, right? On thing. And remember, everyone's innocent until proven guilty on this. Things may be negotiated outward, vacated, litigated, and everything else. So this is just the proposed up front. Citation 1901, type of violation serious. I've never heard of this one. Here being cited, so on at least in a press release. 1910.22A1, surface conditions. The employer must ensure all places of employment, passageways, and storerooms and service rooms and working conditions, walking surface are kept in a clean, orderly, and sanitary condition. Again, they had flexible power cord cables running to a piece of equipment that were laid across the floor. Employees walking to and from that area were exposed to trip and fall hazards when stepping over the cables. Right, 13,690, that's a big one. Citation to item 1A, repeat violation, lockout tagout. Right, with that, a lockout tagout. No, what was it for this one? Procedures, right? Developed. And going on, that one was 31,939. This is a repeat series. Application of control. The established procedures, the application of energy control shall cover the following elements, and, all that in there. Very lengthy thing. Right? They did not, basically, this is what it is. You lock it out, try it, right? You turn it off, put a lock on it, and then try. It's not only putting a lock on it. You got to try the machine, make sure it doesn't go on. And depending on the machine, you may need a physical disconnect. Right? There are some machines where you cannot lock out and tag them out. You got to do an actual physical disconnect of the machine with that. And check out the lockout tag out regulation here. And what was that? $0 on that one. All right, citation 1B. Citation 2, item 2A, repeat serious. Procedural issues. No, right? Basically, whatever procedures they had, were not inadequate. The employer did not ensure the machine-specific lockout, tagout procedure for the actual machine was adequate, and it did not address a whole bunch of stuff. Multiple energy sources here is what it looks like. And this is 31,939. Citation 2, item 2B. Periodic inspection of the procedure at least annually wasn't done. $0. Citation 2, item 3, repeat serious. No training, right, with this. Or training was inadequate. $31,000 on that. Almost $32,000. Citation 2, item 4. Each operating treadle shall be protected against unexpected and accidental tripping. 3 operating treadles at the hoist feed deck were not protected by inverted U-shaped covers. Right, so this is like a chain sort of thing as what I take this as, and they have to have a guard on there. 13,688. And 1910-213, repeat serious. Miscellaneous woodworking machines, the mention of specific machines in paragraphs A through Q, and this paragraph of this section inclusive is not intended to exclude other woodworking machines from the requirement that suitable guards and exhausters be provided to reduce the minimum the hazard due to the point of operation of machines. Point of operation guard is what it came down to in front of rotating blades. And some others, they're almost $32,000. Citation 2, item 6, a repeat. No missing guards on belts, pulleys, and gears and shafts. 4,562. Citation 3, item 1. Forklift training, other than serious. They got them for $0 on that. With that. Citation 3, other than serious, was 0. Was when the operator of an industrial truck, aka forklift, when the operator of an industrial truck is dismounted and within the 25 foot of the truck, still in his rear, the load engaging means shall be fully lowered, controls neutralized, and the brakes set to prevent movement. And for a grand total of $159,696 at that site. Proposed penalties. But there's more. Here we have citation 1, item 1A. type of violation. Serious exit discharge. So coming out of an emergency exit, especially, it's opening up into an inappropriate area. That one was 15,970. That was a big one there. 1910.36, serious. Exit route must meet minimum height and width requirements. An exit access must be at least 28 inches wide on all points where there is only one exit access leading to an exit or exit discharge. The width of the exit and exit discharge must be at least equal to the width of the exit access. No money on that one. Citation 1, item 1C, $0. They had stuff piled up in the exit, on the exit routes, right? Expose employees to trip hazards. And citation 2, item 1, repeat serious access and egress. The employer must provide and ensure each employee uses a safe means of access and egress. To and from walking and working services, $57,044. Citation 2, item 2, 1910.305, flexible cords and cables, identification of installations and terminals. Flexible cords and cables shall be connected to devices and fittings so that strain relief is provided that will prevent pull from being directly transferred to joints or terminal screws. So you can't have a extension cord tightly on there. You have to have a little bit of slack on there and prevent that from tightening up on that, because that's how you damage the plug. On that, how much? $22,818. Real cheap things to fix, guys. Really cheap. Citation 3, item 1. Basically the same thing with $0, so we just mentioned. Conductors entering cutout boxes, cabinets or fittings shall be protected from abrasion, and openings through which conductors shall be effectively closed. That was $0, but again, the electrical boxes weren't right. For another $95,832. All of this stuff, very cheap to fix. That's why I have to, that's going to cost me all different kinds of money. This kind of stuff is easy to fix. All right, that's what we got on the OSHA news. With that, let's go to another commercial break, and we're going to finish up with EPA news, and we will, we'll go out and have a great weekend. How's that?
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzo, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast. It's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzo and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
All right, on to EPA news here. This is off their website, right? EPA announces updated cleanup action plan for Torch Lake Superfund site in Houghton County, Michigan. Pardon me. EPA completed this work at its site, which was contaminated from decades of copper production in August 2006. EPA details this update with an explanation of significant differences document, which amends the cleanup plan for the site based on information from the most recent 5-year review. And, you could check that out if you're in the neighborhood. California to receive $1.2 million from the EPA to help businesses prevent pollution. The U.S. EPA has selected California Air the California Air Resources Board and the University of California, Berkeley for a total of $1.1 million in grants for technical assistance to businesses to develop and adopt pollution prevention practices in their communities. EPA announced 48 selectees nationwide who will collectively receive $19 million in grants to support states, tribal nations, U.S. and territories in providing technical assistance to businesses to develop and adopt P2 resources and local communities. P2 is pollution prevention. All grants funded by President Biden, and here it is again, bipartisan infrastructure law, or nearly half of this year's awarded funds are available at no cost or sure match requirement. So that law gets into everything. I can't read this here. That was in, right? EPA announces $1 million in grants to help businesses in Nevada to prevent pollution. That's P2. The U.S. EPA has selected University of Nevada, Reno, and Western Nevada College for a total of $1 million plus in grants for technical assistances to businesses to develop pollution prevention. That's P2 practices benefiting communities on there, right? So, and here we go. This is in English here, not in Spanish. The U.S. EPA has fined a company for $80,000 for violations of the Clean Water Act after discharging stormwater pollutants into the Cañas River during construction activities in Aguada, Puerto Rico. We are holding the company accountable. I normally don't mention company names here. I let them out. It's either because I slip up, or it's obvious who it is, right? And it's in the regular news. And it turns out I seem to be the only guy that actually reads this stuff. I don't know what it is. Right? So you're getting this like up front. You may hear about 3 or 4 days later on LinkedIn, so you're finding out about this stuff. The EPA found that the company began construction in September 2023, and did not secure the necessary permits or install required erosion and sediment controls. As a result, stormwater runoff at the site entered the river, carrying harmful pollutants and affecting water quality. So they're going to require them to stabilize the soil, develop stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWPPP, and securing coverage under the EPA's general permit to prevent future discharges on that. So that's what we got here. I'm going to run through the other stories here. Right? I get upset because I can't be here every day all the time. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Here, let's cycle through here. So here we have Amazon workers are on strike. Here on the two of the more busier days, which is Black Friday, which was today, and then Cyber Monday. Here, that's not good. Brown Friday. Plumbers report an uptick in service calls the day after Thanksgiving. It's not called Brown Friday for the reasons you might think. After Thanksgiving is actually the biggest day of the year for plumbers because the surge in calls related to clogged drains and broken garbage disposals in kitchens. It's not primarily about clogged toilets, which the name implies. A typical Thanksgiving dinner, which includes grease, potato skins, and turkey drippings, puts more strain on your kitchen sink than usual meal, which can easily clog up your sink. Right? With that. So, again, strain on the plumbing on there. Now, this one, I find this lack a certain obtuseness when you deal with criminals in the criminal justice system here. Presumably, most criminals are not going to be sentenced to life. They may be habitual criminals, and they may do heinous things, but the majority of them, my sense is, are not going to be in prison forever. They're going to go to jail, they'll get out, they may have some recidivism, things, but now, if you treat people like animals, and based on the discussions I've had with criminal justice people involved in the criminal justice system, enforcement, and corrections, things of that nature, if you treat them like animals, how do you think they're going to happen? What's going to happen on the way out? How are they going to act? Like animals. PTSD. Treat people bad. Don't expect anything good to come out of that. Very rarely does something come out of here. So this is a report on Ghislaine Maxwell, that, of Jeffrey Epstein fame. Ghislaine Maxwell has been left starving this Thanksgiving after the jail where she is serving, and this is all alleged, I don't know if this is true or not, is serving out a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking, ran out of money. So the prison she's in ran out of money. Sources say convicted Madam Maxwell, 62, and other inmates at FCI Tallahassee in Florida are going hungry because of the lack of food. One source said this is going on since last week. The inmates have been told the Bureau of Prisons have run out of money, and Ghislaine and others have been left starving. Portion sizings have been cut from 8 to 2 ounces, and Ghislaine hasn't had food for 5 days. The prison says it can't afford to buy the vegetarian diet plan she is on. She and the others are going hungry. Prisoners have been told there is no money for medication. I don't know who's saying this, but this is what they're saying. Another person familiar with the situation said the prisoners who need medication, everything from chemotherapy drugs to blood pressure medication, were pulled to one side, told there is not money for drugs. Maxwell this week lost the latest round in her appeal against her conviction. Right? With that, the former socialite and close friend of Prince Andrews was convicted of luring girls as young as 14 into Epstein's clutches. She has always vehemently denied the charges, and going on and on and on. Now, Department of Justice report last year was scathing about conditions inside the Tallahassee prison, which was found to have moldy food, rat droppings, and rotten vegetables. Prison inspectors described the conditions as alarming, with prisoners resorting to using, I'm not going to go into that, for doing certain things. Now, again, all right, treat people like animals. How do you think you're going to get out of there? Like animals. Right? I thought the thing was well, we got to punish and punish and punish. Punishment, I'm going to tell you, punishment is overrated. Punishment's overrated. It is. It feels good for 10 minutes when you punish someone. Maybe. Oh, that made me feel good. But then later on you don't feel not the right thing with this, right? And I think this is a matter of perspective. When you are young, you're like, oh, and when you're raised the way that I was raised, not so much by my parents, but by the institutions that I was raised by, the schools primarily, right? Punishment. Oh, you don't do this, you're going to have negative reinforcement. Punishment. That only goes so far, because eventually you're going to have resentment. So you think you're going to have, when these people eventually get out of here, you think, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think all of them are going to be like Bernard Carrick, right? Who wrote the book From Jailer to Jailed, where he gave insight and everything else on how to fix the system, and some insight, and he didn't realize all that was going on in the system. And he came out with a pretty good book on this. Are you going to be like him? Or are you going to be like some other people, right, where they do nothing but badmouth, and then you create an enemy? Why don't we start concentrating on working with people, getting along with people, rather than making enemies? Maybe then things will get better. Can't be concentrating on making enemies. Not a good thing. This was a big thing on Conservative Talk Radio today. Australian Parliament bans social media for under 16s with the world's first law. And there are people who want to do this now, and in this country. And I know some good things about doing that, bad things. The thing is, in the United States, we have a thing called First Amendment to the Constitution. And to try to ban people from certain things without good reason, like if it's obscene or something like that, adult-oriented, very, very difficult to enforce any of this stuff. You're never going to be able to, with anything. That's why parents have to be, and guardians have to be vigilant as to what the people are doing. And this is what I like here, right? We talked about this last weekend with the social contract last week. Platforms now have a social responsibility to ensure safety of our kids is a priority for them. Really, I guess with the issue intention cycle, this is now solved. The problem's solved. We passed the law. Now we can go back to doing something else. How about all the other problems we have in society with this? How is this going to be enforced over there? Are you going to go and force people? Oh, well, let me see that smartphone, kid. Oh, no, you're on social media. Oh, and then we're going to find you with that. Really? Some people have argued that this is an opening to the social credit score like China has, where if you do something we don't like, then you're not eligible for certain things. We're going to do something bad for you, right? You don't get the good loans, you don't get good treatment. Is this where we're headed with this? I don't know. I be very careful here, right? Control. You learn, in this country, we learn what happens when you try to control people, right? If you don't give people free agency, we learned that during COVID, didn't we? Australia, remember, during COVID, had everybody in lockdowns, putting people in jail and everything. Like in this country, you weren't even allowed out on the street, according to some of the reports I've read on that, right? And now, okay, well, they did that with the lockdown. Now we're going to do this. So this doesn't happen in fact. We're going to ban social media. Let's see how much more we're going to control than it was many years ago. We're going to get rid of all the guns in Australia. Basically, they don't exist, is my understanding over there. Private ownership. Maybe, no, it's like almost like, I'll hesitate to use this, the domino theory here. And I think we got a story on that too here. You're okay. Hold on. Right, I was going to cover it today, but I don't have the story up here. With the euthanasia, there's a couple of bills, right to die bills and everything in England. 40 or 50 years ago, with this whole debate on life issues, it was always argued, well, this is going to lead to euthanasia. They were called nuts. They were called ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But it looks like that's what's going on. So maybe you should pay attention more when people say domino theory. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris reopened today, and it's not fully reopened, just the interior. They're still doing work on the outside from that fire on there in 2019. And basically, they really, the place, I was never there in person, but the place looks pretty good on the inside, and it's been modernized with some modern, some people call it a recavation, right, with things. There, where some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like what they see there. Good luck to them. That is, that's it. That's all we have for tonight. We're going to end it right here at 1 hour and a half. I look forward to seeing you folks here next week with exciting new programs. And wanted to just hope you have a great weekend there. If any major emergency happens, we're going to be back on the air. No, we're not going to be on Safety FM, but on the podcast then, or and on the other platforms that we are on. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel, and we're going to go right on over to our regular
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.